Even if you don't know the artist, you've probably come across this iconic work. In 2023, a copy sold for a staggering $2.76 million at Christie's auction in New York. While this number may seem modest compared to recent art market records, it's unprecedented for a print. Considering that 8,000 copies were produced in the 19th century, the high price reflects the lasting influence of Japanese art, particularly ukiyo-e, on European aesthetics. Commonly known as the Great Wave, this iconic work depicts a massive wave on the verge of engulfing everything in its path. At the moment of the wave's crest, the distant figure of Mount Fuji can be seen framed beneath it. Under the towering wave, high-speed boats are racing. The sailors, undaunted by the threatening sea, skillfully navigate their way through the waves to transport fresh fish to Edo. The work is rich in dramatic elements that draw the viewer into the dynamic scene. The Great Wave is one of the famous Ukiyo-e series, 36 Views of Mount Fuji. Originally planned as a collection of 36 prints, the popularity of the series led to an expansion to 46 prints. This series was created by the Japanese artist Hokusai, who began his career at the tender age of 19 and continued to produce art until shortly before his death at the age of 90. It is estimated that Hokusai created around 30,000 works throughout his career. During the Edo period, these ukiyo-e prints served as a popular form of entertainment, comparable to modern magazines. Although they were not initially regarded as high art in Japan, they captivated European audiences when they were introduced to Europe. This appreciation sparked the Japonism movement, which significantly influenced European artists and inspired various artistic styles, including Impressionism, Realism, Art Nouveau, and others. Hokusai's international acclaim was exemplified in 1999 when Life magazine named him one of the 100 most important people of the second millennium. This global recognition greatly enhanced his reputation in Japan and solidified his status as a major figure in the nation's artistic landscape. Shift in Hokusai's wave. Today, we know the appearance of waves from sources such as photographs. The world's first photograph was taken in France in 1825, and the first known photograph was taken in Japan in 1857, 18 years after Hokusai died. Earlier generations, like Hokusai, had to rely on other means to capture the ever-changing nature of waves. He spent years experimenting and refining his wave techniques long before he created his iconic masterpiece, the Great Wave. Even after that, Hokusai continued to evolve his approach to depicting waves. Here's a brief overview of how Hokusai's depiction of waves evolved over time. Hokusai produced this early wave print in his late 40s, around 1803 to 2007, a full 2 decades before the iconic The Great Wave off Kanagawa. Set against the backdrop of Kanagawa, the same location as his later masterpiece, this work shows Hokusai's exploration of Western artistic techniques. The decorative frame and the attempt to depict the waves in 3 dimensions show his willingness to experiment and innovate within the traditional ukiyo-e style. The title of this work identifies these boats as Oshiokuri Bune, types of high-speed boats characterized by large pointed bow, detachable masts, and multiple oars. These boats continue to be rowed even when the mast is in use, and their forward motion, driven by many oars, is said to resemble that of a centipede. The print focuses on this fast boat, which delivers fresh fish to Edo. The work features boldly tilted boats riding the waves, marking a new level of engagement with the physicality of the waves, a kind of progression from previous works. In addition, the print features a Japanese script similar to the alphabet influenced by Western copperplate printing. This illustration was created for Takizawa Bakin's popular novel, Chinsetsu Yumiharizuki. The story follows a master archer, Tomatomo, as he rebuilds the Ryukyu kingdom in present-day Okinawa. The novel features various depictions of the sea, and the illustrations are exceptionally lavish, even by the standards of modern novels. The novel became widely known as a collaboration between a famous novelist and an ukiyo-e artist, and it was a massive hit. In this illustration, the focus is on the depiction of the raging waves, rather than on the 3-dimensional expression typical of Western-influenced paintings. The white crests of the waves, reminiscent of the Great Wave, are particularly striking. And then, the Great Wave was born. Hokusai likely created this masterpiece around the age of 70. Around the age of 74, he is known to have said, "Everything I created before the age of 70 deserves no recognition." This statement begs the question, did Hokusai view the Great Wave as one of the first works to meet his exacting standards? Shortly thereafter, at the age of 74, Hokusai began work on the sequel, 100 Views of Mount Fuji. This particular work in the series features a simpler and faster composition than the Great Wave. Focusing on Mount Fuji, the viewer's gaze naturally follows the flow of the waves. At the tops of the white crests where the waves break, white birds can be seen flying toward Mount Fuji. In my opinion, it seems that Hokusai was looking for a way to depict movement in his painting, almost as if he wanted to create a movie within his artwork, especially through the subject of waves. This work was painted when Hokusai was 85 years old. The one on the left is called masculine wave and the one on the right is called feminine wave. Unlike the woodblock prints presented so far, this print is classified as a hand-painted painting, created with a brush. It is perhaps his last work depicting waves. The painting was done on the ceiling of a mobile truck used for festivals, and it is a unique piece in which there is no distinction between the top and bottom. In my opinion, by eliminating the concept of top and bottom, he may have been trying to create the illusion of waves spinning endlessly. It is believed that the Great Wave depicts Mount Fuji as seen from this approximate location. The next work we present is the easternmost and farthest from Mount Fuji in the series 36 Views of Mount Fuji. This painting captures the view from the southeastern end of Kasumagaura, Japan's second largest lake. Hokusai creates a powerful composition by placing a large boat called a takesabune in the foreground, with rocks strategically placed in front of it. Takesabune were riverboats used throughout Japan from ancient times to the early modern period. The boat is filled with various tools, offering a glimpse of life on board. The mast is folded, suggesting that the boat is waiting for the wind. At the front of the boat, a man leans out from the roof and pours out water as he washes rice and prepares breakfast. The sudden sound of the water startles two herons, depicted in flight, as they quickly take off. This place flourished as one of the main hubs for maritime transportation to Edo. In this painting, torii gates stand in shallow water, marking the entrance to a Shinto shrine. Through the gate, we see Mount Fuji. While fishing boats work offshore, people around the gates enjoy clam digging in the shallow water. The men are happy with their catch, but the women seem more engrossed in conversation than in gathering clams. Clam digging was one of Hokusai's favorite subjects. In 1813, some 20 years earlier, Hokusai created the predecessor of this work, Shiohigarizu, or clam digging. This was a hand-painted work, not a print. In 1997, the Japanese government designated it as an important cultural property, a relatively recent recognition. The large ships in the center of the painting are bisaisen. These large wooden sailing vessels were widely used for domestic shipping in Japan during the early modern to modern periods, such as the Sengoku, Edo, and Meiji periods. They came in various sizes, with early versions carrying about 100 koku, or about 1,800 liters. By the end of the Edo period, ships capable of carrying 10 times that amount had appeared. Behind the ships, Mount Fuji is visible on the horizon, which is curved, suggesting that Hokusai may have incorporated the Western understanding of the Earth's spherical shape. Hokusai instructed his students to compose paintings using geometric shapes, and in this work a triangular Mount Fuji is framed by a triangle formed by the ropes, reflecting the shape of the mountain. This painting shows Mount Fuji as seen from the Temple of the 500 Arhats in Edo. The Arahat refers to the enlightened Buddhist disciples, whose 500 statues are enshrined in the temple. On the site, there is a 3-story building with a spiral staircase, which was a rarity at the time. The shape of the staircase resembles a common edible sea snail, which led to the building being named Sazai-do, or Turban Shell Hall, and becoming a popular tourist attraction. This view is from the balcony on the 3rd floor. On the right, 2 figures appear to be pilgrims, probably carrying changes of clothes and utensils in their wooden backpacks. Climbing the stairs to the 3rd floor is still a physically demanding task. In the center are 3 men, 2 of whom carry swords, indicating their samurai status. To the left are 2 women. The woman on the left, holding a child's hand, has her belt knotted in front, a style reminiscent of prostitutes. However, this style was originally used by women from upper-class families. The front knot style was not adopted by the working class because it disturbed their work. This work depicts the rural landscape of Senju in Edo, the first post station on the Nikko-kaido and Oshokaido highways, which were the main routes of the Edo shogunate. On the right, a wooden floodgate has been installed to prevent water from flowing back up the Sumida River. A man leading a horse looks at Mount Fuji through the gap in the gate. The horse is probably carrying grass for feed, although some believe it may be carrying green onion senju-negi, the local specialty of the area. Because this new genre of ukiyo-e landscapes had also served to promote tourism and local products. A straw horseshoe hangs from the line pulling the horse, as horseshoes in Japan at that time were made of straw rather than iron. The upturned triangle formed by the lead is a design choice by Hokusai to contrast with the triangle of Mt. Fuji. On the right side of the scene, you can see kosatsu boards in the post station of Senju. Kosatsu were public notice boards placed in prominent locations along highways to inform the common people of new laws decreed by the shogunate and to post wanted posters of criminals. 3 samurai wearing kasa, or woven hats, and traveling clothes are seen dashing past it. Beyond the horizon, Mount Fuji, tinted red by the dawn, rises in the background. Clouds or fog hang between Mount Fuji and the samurai, using the traditional Japanese painting technique known as yasurigasumi. In this print, the clouds obscure the landscape between the samurai and Mount Fuji, drawing attention to the primary subjects, the mountain and the figures. The clouds also help transition between scenes within the print, simplifying an otherwise complicated composition and enhancing its overall balance and focus. What we see here is the entertainment district of New Yoshiwara, a highly regulated area overseen by the shogunate and enclosed by high walls. This entertainment district was filled with brothels, kabuki theaters, cafes, restaurants, and other establishments, making it a vibrant and lively place. Ukiyo-e prints often depicted the lives of prostitutes from this district, some of whom were portrayed as celebrities and fashion icons. However, the glamorous facade of their lives often masked a harsh reality, as many of these women were the daughters of poor families, sold by their parents and forced into this life. In the foreground, we see the entourage of a daimyo. As they return to their hometown after their term in Edo, they cast reluctant glances at the Yoshiwara Entertainment District, with Mount Fuji visible in the distance. The men carrying long brown sacks on their shoulders are riflemen, followed by infantrymen with spears. This procession is a remnant of a custom dating back to the Sengoku period 200 years before. However, it's likely that not a single samurai among them ever used these weapons in actual combat. What is a Daimyo Procession? A Daimyo Procession, known as Daimyo Gyoretsu, occurred when feudal lords or daimyos traveled to meet other feudal lords. In this context, lower-ranking lords went to visit higher-ranking lords, thus expressing the daimyo's obedience to the shogun. This deluxe hand scroll, painted on silk around 1700, captures the grandeur of such a procession. The style suggests that it was made in the studio of Hishikawa Muranobu, a pioneer of the ukiyo-e genre. While the subject of the procession remains uncertain, their family crests suggest that they may be representatives of the Shiya domain, located in present-day Kashiwazaki City, Niigata Prefecture. If you know more about this painting, let me know in the comments. The procession consisted of spearmen, archers, gunners, horsemen, litters for daimyo and their relatives, as well as numerous porters. In the Edo period, this practice was institutionalized as Sankin-kotai. Under this system, daimyos were obliged to spend 1 year in Edo and 1 year in their territories. Meanwhile, their wives and legitimate sons resided in Edo and served as hostages to the shogunate, symbolizing their pledge of allegiance. This meant that daimyos and their wives spent more than half of their lives in Edo, many of them growing more attached to the glamorous city than their own hometowns. In another video, we explore a woman's life who lived under this hostage practice around 1600. Her baptismal name was Gracia, and her turbulent life has inspired operas, novels, and TV dramas outside of Japan. If you're interested, check out our video entitled True Story of Mariko, the impact of the Christian lady Gracia's death. You can find the link below this video. The primary purpose of processions was to demonstrate submission and reinforce the hierarchical relationship between the shogun and the daimyos. This system had some secondary effects. It led to the development of towns along the highways and swelled the population of Edo, where daimyo families and servants were permanently stationed. The city's population grew to over 1 million, significantly contributing to the rise of popular culture, such as ukiyo-e and kabuki. This system also influenced the male-female ratio in Edo. Processions consisted of samurai and male laborers from the provinces who stayed in Edo for about a year before returning home, while daimyo's wives, legitimate sons, and servants remained in the city. As a result, Edo's population became 2/3 male. This imbalance meant that few men could marry within the city, fostering the development of brothel districts like Yoshiwara.
Help motivate us to make more videos by liking and subscribing. Thank you for watching!